Welcome back to the Prepare to Fight Fire podcast. Today, I've got my first episode with two guests, and these two guys are super special. They're coming out of Colorado, and they've got this epic page that I reached out to both of them. I said, "Hey man, let's have you on the podcast." So their names obviously Keegan, we got Joshua, and they both run 2 Mile Rescue Company. And 2 Mile meaning they're out in the you know vast space of Colorado where they don't have the staffing that most people do, and their response times are super long. And the post, guys, if you're not following them, it's 2 Mile Rescue Company. Give them a follow. They're posting awesome stuff that's realistic and young dudes that are getting after it, and I love to see it. So, guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let's just run right into it, dude. How did this Instagram come about? You guys are creating some traction. You obviously are bringing value, and that's what the world needs right now is more value and that's less negativity. So let's talk about it. What brought you guys to create an Instagram and just share the message?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jessica and I have worked together out here in Colorado for multiple years, and throughout that we've been going to classes together. We assist in instructing at the college academy as well, through Colorado Mountain College. And earlier this year, we were kind of thinking about how else we could impart some knowledge. And 2 Mile Rescue Company came to mind. Found some names, found a logo, and started out with Instagram, just an easy platform to jumpstart. And then, we want to transition into doing some YouTube videos with educational videos, like 3 parts, dialing in the nuances of each skill. And then, with a goal of 2 years, maybe do a first in-person class.
Hell yeah. I love that. So let's talk about the name. So 2 Mile Rescue Company. So where does that come from?
So the elevation in Leadville is 10,152 feet. So we're approximately about that 2 miles high.
So for anybody that doesn't know, I've got a very novice ultra running resume. I've done 200s and probably like 3 or 5 50Ks. So nothing crazy, but one of my hundreds was in Leadville, and I think Leadville is the highest city in the U.S. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a bit different up there in many regards. Weather, obviously, how thin the air is, and as far as the fire department goes, man, like the staffing. So let's talk about that. What are you guys combating with your on-duty staffing for a shift?
Yeah, so our district in Leadville specifically is in Leadville Lake County Fire Rescue, 384 square miles. We're a single station department with staffing from 3 to 5 firefighters on that engine at a time. So within that, we train members up that are new to be able to drive, and then eventually function as an engineer when the time is appropriate. So then now we have capabilities to do these crew splits. So we can shuttle whatever apparatus we need. Our hydrant district is a square mile, covering the city of Leadville. Right. So, when we do these crew splits and we go outside of the city limits, outside of that hydrant district, we need to get crafty with rural water supply. So, we'll throw one person to a tender. We might throw another person to, maybe it's a brush truck for those super rural, tucked away neighborhoods that we have in the mountains. Access is difficult too. So you might be driving your own fire truck.
Yeah. No, it's something that is a challenge, but I was just talking to these guys before we hit record. When I worked up north, we faced similar challenges where we pull up to a variety of incidents that we had 5 people, right? I hate to get medical, but the first like serious medical call I had, it was me and an EMC that just started. You know what I mean? So he was useless. The guy was just, the best thing he could do was get the stretcher. And with that produces, I believe, the best firefighter in the world. And we recently took a class in Indiana called the Fire Department Training Network, which if you guys haven't heard of it, do some research. And when you do hear about it, pull the trigger and go, man. It's the best training I've ever been to. But we got to see different people operate from different parts of the country. Some pretty big cities like Austin, Seattle, Buffalo, like Kentucky, big departments, right? It's got a lot of tradition, like set in stone a long time ago. But what we saw was that these dudes are really good at like this one particular skill set or job function, right? Because in those cities, the staffing is so high, you don't get on scene and have to call an audible 6 times, right? Like there's no audibles. Like if you're the can man, you grab the can and the hook. If you're the irons, you grab the irons. If you're the tiller driver, like you take the roof. Like if you're driving the engine, you're pumping the truck. Like you're not touching ladders. You're not securing utilities. You're not doing all of these things that in your area or where I used to work. I mean, dude, your job function is every capability that we as a fire department are. So in turn, the firefighter that was produced was a more well-rounded, equipped firefighter. So I gotta ask you guys, what is your guys' thought process when you're dispatched? Do you guys have that played out of like, hey, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, or does it depend on conditions and actions on scene?
So I work down in Salida. It's very similar response district to Leadville. Slightly larger city. We cover what we call South Arkansas Fire Protection District. A little bit outside into the county. I'm in Chaffee County. It's just an hour south of Leadville Lake County. And then we work with a volunteer agency as well for mutual aid. So our thought process and route depends on the crew that we're working on at Salida. So we just run a 4-man crew unless we have a reserve riding with us.
Mhm.
And as Gorham stated earlier, we also split the crew as kind of a tactic. So if it's in the city, we're going to split 1 to 2 firefighters off to drive our tower. It's a 75-foot stick with a bucket at the end. We're always rolling the Type 1 engine, obviously. So we also have a squad.
Okay.
So that runs MBAs, medicals. And then if we need another pumper, we got that. If we need a water tender, if it's outside of the city, outside of our hydrant district, then we'll roll that. So the initial thing we're thinking about is what apparatus do we need to bring just with our crew of 4, and how are we going to split that crew?
Hmm.
So that's one thing very early on at Slide of Fire.
Right. And that decision has to be made as soon as the call comes in. So
Absolutely.
is that like a group decision, or is that the boss really making that decision?
That's the boss. Yep.
And
So that's an audible that the boss makes. We kind of have predetermined running orders. So, like I said, within the city, we're grabbing the tower and the engine. For an MVA, we're grabbing the squad and the engine. And then for out of our hydrant district, we're grabbing a water tender and a Type 1.
gotcha.
Um,
And
so
worked both for 2 different departments. Would you say that your department's mission statement is more suppression rescue, or rescue and then we'll suppress when we suppress?
it's more, the attitude that I've seen is suppression rescue. That's the initial. And then if there's report of victims, then that is immediately the first priority. But typically training to get the fire out as fast as possible, and then completing our primary either while we're advancing the line off the attack line, or after we got a knock in the fire, then we're spreading out as a crew.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you're going interior with 3 dudes, 3 dudes,
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
depending on our staffing.
2 to 3 are in charge of stretching and performing a primary.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And what's the response time on your second due, or that's not a thing?
Second due, so we call that callback. It's guys off duty coming in. So actually all of our staff members live in town within 30 minutes of the station. So could be 5 minutes to them getting to the station, and then whatever response time from the station. So So probably 10 to 20 minutes, depending on where the call is and how available everyone is.
Yeah. No, and it's got to be the city's got to be seeing the growth. I mean, even I've never been to Salida, but I've been to BV, and within 2 years of BV and Leadville, I mean, they're noticeably more houses, more people on just a given weekday, not even an event or anything like that. So I would assume that staffing will increase with more stations being built, but what we think and what they think is two different things. So I want to kind of revert back to what really brought you guys to start the page. What was the primary reason outside of just bringing value? Because being young in this career and putting yourself out there, there's going to be haters, there's going to be critics, and with anybody that's been in the fire service, firemen hate two things: change and the way things are. So
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of it stems from, as we kind of touch on it with these low staffing models, like low staffing to us is 3 people on a single engine. Low staffing to another department might be like three people staffing on 6 individual engines. Like they each got their 3, but like they don't have their 7th today.
yeah.
So
Our low staffing is two on an engine, 2 on a rescue. So still, for a first due response, you've got enough people to perform the 2 primary functions within the first 10 minutes of a fire, primary and then suppression.
right. So like, tagging onto that, as we kind of craft and continue to pioneer this company and develop a mission statement, it's really seeking the nuance of all these skills and creating opportunity on the fire ground with this low staffing model. So our idea being, we understand that when we show up to a structure fire, there's 3 to 5 of us, and there's 3 to 5 of us to do all of those 100 jobs on the fire. When you go to the big city, then there's 300 people to do those 100 jobs, or however many people get thrown. So to understand the nuances in all of those tasks and have a far better efficiency on the fire ground is so much more important for those low staffing departments. As you said, like with those larger departments, then you can designate you're the can guy, you're the irons guy, you're the guy who throws the ladders, you're the engineer, and then these 6 other companies got their own tasks too.
Right.
And so we'll get comments on 2 Mile, and they'll say, well, like, why are you going to throw 2 ladders at once? Like, use teamwork. And it's like, well, I am the ladder guy right now, or they're like,
Right.
why are you going to like bring your tool in your pack? That's the Iron Man's job. And it's like, well, I'm both.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that. You guys put out that drill, this drill right here, which I have something to say about it. Epic searching around the victim, obviously. For you guys that can't see this on YouTube and just listening, I'm just pulling up a video that they have of extracting a real human out of a building, which is something we don't do in the fire service. We're really good at victims, and we're really good at pulling people 3 feet. But if you throw an actual human on the ground, it's challenging and taxing. And we think as a whole in the fire service that we're going to always rise. Like, yeah, we got what it takes. Right? But we don't really understand how hard the task is of removing a lifeless victim out of a building. First of all, technique is money. Second of all, the bay you guys have, we don't have that bay. We used to have those slick bays, but now they put on this paint, this tarmac, so people don't slip, and people don't just drag like that. So we've come to find out. We also did a drill where, and we did this before you posted it. I was like, oh man, it's so funny how the world works. We put things in the way, so it's not a straight shot, like actual obstacles. And we come to find out that dragging by the legs is actually harder than dragging by the torso, and keeping majority of the weight, like holding the majority of the weight and maneuvering around. It's a lot easier to maneuver if you have the person compared to their legs, because then there's a lot of readjusting. Nonetheless, everybody should be training on what their method is that they're going to employ on a real human. So when I saw that video, I didn't bash you guys. I didn't do any of that stuff. I did notice the floor, But the first thought to my head was, look at these guys using a real human for extract. And I want to bring that reality to people's training module or their viewpoint or perspective on it. If you guys aren't training to the real life predicament that we're responding to or situation, you're honestly wasting your time. And when people say, well, you're never going to have to drag someone alone, what makes you say that? Oh, we have all these people. And what happens when the person that you have, or the other person, or the three other people get down and they can't move the victim a foot? I can't move them anymore. I can't move them anymore. Now, this training we just did that you told me I'll never do this alone, you have a technique that uses your body type, your strength, to actually progress this victim 5 feet. And maybe that's all we need to get out of the fire room, or 5 feet to get them to the next company to hand them off. Compared to, hey, 3 dudes grabbed this victim and we've made it a foot, right? Premise of this, the point of all of this is to get your hands on realistic people and do realistic training. So I want to also talk about, your guys's training module as a department. What has been your influence being so young? Has there been pushback? Are you guys doing a lot of things on your own and kind of perfecting it yourself, or are people open where you work to mastering the craft?
I'm pretty lucky in Leadville to have a crew that is super hungry all the time. It just doesn't stop.
Mm.
And we also individually outsource and go to, Mile High Fire Conference. We'll go down to County Fire Tactics. They had a class in Gunnison. We do outsource and find these opportunities across the state. And then, at my department, it's line level operations. So we get to kind of decide what our training is for the 2 days that we're on shift. And then we'll also, we pair. So we co-respond with the ambulance out of the hospital. They're private through the hospital. So we'll have them over for dinner, and, we'll also do medical scenarios on day 2, and we'll have a big family dinner. And then for the fire skills, we decide what we want to work on that day. We also cater to our probies that are going through their objectives book. And so we'll tailor the training for the day into their book as well. So then we're benefiting across, full rank. Everybody is learning and performing those hands-on. There's not one person standing back like, drag the victim farther. Like we're all in on it, and my department as a whole is just hungry for that. So I'm pretty blessed.
That's awesome. What about you, man?
So the training culture in Leadville is excellent. That's what I started my career in. So that's what I was used to, and it's kind of a culture shock going 1 hour south to Salida, where just didn't have the same culture.
Right.
Wasn't bad, just didn't have the same culture.
Okay.
One reason that Leadville has the culture that it has is because they have kind of a revolving door of resident reserve firefighters coming out of the academy, train them up to the Leadville way, and then they're perfectly fine with sending them off and having them represent Leadville well at other departments. Salida is more of a, if you get hired here, you're here for your whole career. So there's not that revolving door. Therefore, there's not a strong culture of constantly training new people. So culture shock coming down here a little bit.
Right.
Definitely had my own frustrations with it. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Definitely had my own frustrations with it, and it's taken a ton of growth in the last 2.5 years on my part to kind of dial up my patience, kind of dial down how aggressive I was being with how much I saw other people training, and just kind of building it up in my head.
Yeah.
So I've tried to hold my own standard of, I get down to the bay, I train, I work out, and if other guys want to pop in here and there, they can, and it's encouraged. And I've tried to play with ways of like buy-in here and there. Like one thing that's improved crew morale is, it's kind of silly, but we do like a 10-minute, every minute on the minute, 10 push-ups.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets people moving,
Huge.
right? Push-ups are pretty easy. Hey man, you want to do some push-ups with me? So that's helped, create some more crew buy-in and morale. And then it's funny, this 2 mile stuff, when I want to work and drill on a skill that I would like to show on the 2 mile page, that creates a lot of buy-in for the crew because there's a lot of curiosity surrounding it, and they want to help teach, um, and kind of contribute to that video and that skill. So that's been really cool to see lately.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I did a challenge in July where I did 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every day, and I would increase the reps by 10 every day. So at the end, it was like 400 of each, something stupid. And if I missed a day, I told myself I'd do 500 of each day that I missed. So I missed 2, so there was 2 days back to back at the end of the month that I did 500 of each, which is 1,000. Nonetheless, I'm not here to tell you that I did a lot of reps. What I'm here to tell you is during that month on duty, I had never had so many people work out with me. And it really showed me that people are really scared. People don't want to face their insecurities. People don't want to be exposed. Firemen are tough and they act tough until it's time to do badass shit, and then the real people come out. And unfortunately, we don't run these high priority calls like New York, Chicago, LAFD frequently, right? But nonetheless, I never had so many people work out with me because I was like, hey man, I'm just like you just said, hey, I'm just gonna do some push-ups. Oh, how many? I'm like, dude, you really don't want to know. When, when I'm done doing my reps, just count how many you got. So today we're gonna PR. You're definitely gonna do the most push-ups you've ever done, right? And whatever. It would get 100, 150. Some dudes got 200, right? And I would tell them how much, and they're like, oh, you're fucking crazy. But obviously, people don't see that I've been training for a decade. But nonetheless, man, yeah, and that goes to anybody out there that's having trouble with buy-in or having trouble with people not having the perspective, the tenacity that you have. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's a quote I live by: "Have a very high standard for yourself and be tolerant with others." And if you're at a place where you care and you're building that culture, you need to have a different approach. Your approach cannot be 0 to 100. It's got to be 0 to 5, right? Get to 5 and then master 5. Okay, now we'll go from 5 to 10. Now we got to 10. Okay, now we'll bump up 10 to 20, right? And slowly but surely the confidence will change. The people will see that they're developing. They'll see the purpose. People lose the purpose because of piss poor leadership. When you don't have good leadership, people are like, what's the point of training? We've never trained before. That's because you never had a good leader. You never had a good person show you why we need to train. We don't have to train. We need to train. And we're going to still make mistakes even if we train. The most trained dudes, look at the NFL. These guys train all year round. They train all week, go out there. Dudes still fuck up. They still fuck up plays. They fuck up audibles. They do. We're human. We make mistakes. So imagine we don't train. We show up, how unprepared and unfit we would be in that realm. That's my perspective. So I know you guys are the same page. We have no choice. We have to get out there. We got to get better, you know? So I want to kind of pivot the conversation. What are you guys doing in the realm? We were just kind of talking about it, but get your perspective of fitness, right? How important is fitness? I know Colorado is a very active state. You don't see many people that don't appreciate or respect their health. What is your guys' take on fitness where you guys work?
My personal take on fitness is it's been something that I've always been fired up about. Well before I got into the fire service. So I kind of had habits carrying into the job. But once I got into the job and once I uncovered a passion for the job, I realized that I have a bigger why for being the strongest I can be, being in the best shape of my life, right? Like that's important. And there's a bigger why behind it, behind just me as an individual. So anytime I kind of struggle with kind of getting burnt out with working out or whatever it is, I kind of fall back on that bigger why. It's not just me, it's the guys next to me, it's the community I serve, and that helps me get through it. The way I like to frame that, and I see this in endurance events or tough workouts, bring down a bottle, whatever it is. I see it as kind of training. It's not, this isn't the last task. This isn't the task that I'm preparing for. it's all training for the worst day of someone else's life. And it's a privilege for us to show up and to be the symbol of strength and solve the problem, right? We can't be too strong or too fit for that. So that's kind of what I fall back on. I hope I phrased that properly the way I understand it.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
but yeah, on shift, I mean, working out every shift. I've gotten more into endurance sport, running in specific. So I've lost a little bit of strength, but still trying to keep them both up.
right, absolutely. What about you, man?
Yeah, I agree. Prior to, the fire service, play a lot of team sports, so that year round of team sports throughout my time before the fire service really factored into the fire service now. A lot of lifting, and lately now a lot more endurance oriented, especially as we go through academy, the college academy, assisting with that. Uh, um, something that has kind of become more apparent to me this year more than others was the endurance that we're doing in this year's academy, as far as the runs, the long circuit workouts in your packs and bunks. They're all able to do it. Like, they're more than physically able to do it.
Hmm.
Sure, it's exhausting. I mean, it's tiring. We do it with them, right? Because what kind of leaders wouldn't? Um, so we do it with them, and yeah, it kicks your ass for sure. But it comes down to that final round, and it's all up top. So with that endurance workout that we've been starting to do, like, see a lot of people will make it known to them, like, you guys have done this for the past 6 weeks, like, you've been performing these skills very well, and you can do these over and over and over again now. It's just you don't want to, because today was like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, right?
Right.
Like, it's all up top. And so I've been liking a lot more of the endurance training, and then getting those like power lift movements throughout it, and being able to sustain for those like 6 evolutions. That's become like a pretty core, like a staple of our fitness lately.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it goes to show people don't understand when I go out there and I burn a bottle doing up downs. Like, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. And what they don't understand is physically, no, right? If I wanted to increase my physical performance, I would probably go do some type of intentional hit training or based cardio aerobic training, or some CrossFit strength training, or something that would move the needle in my aerobic, anaerobic capacity, or my overall strength. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is when I do up downs through a bottle, right, where there's not a number, I have to focus on one task that I don't know when it's going to end. And what they don't see is the relation to that being our worst call on scene, or a difficult call on scene, right? I have no plan B. There's not a sled I'm going to go push. There's not a little easy jog or walk I'm going to go do. I'm not going to go bear crawl. I'm not going to go do a bench press. Like, no, I have one objective, and that's to do an up down. And then I'm going to do another one. And people are like, well, you don't know how many you're going to do. And I'm like, that's the entire point. When you get on a call, on a fire, and it's hard, you don't know how long it's going to take. And I don't want to program my mind to always train for my job in a circuit environment. And we have, as a fire service, a bad habit of doing that. Yeah, we're going to do 3 rounds. You know what? Let's make it hard today. Let's do 4. Hey, bub, it's 2 a.m. That 4-round workout, it's 12 rounds, right? And if you're not able to not focus on the rounds, but rather dial in your mindset to, I don't care how long this is going to take. Right now, my progression is all I care about. So that same drill we did, I'll send it to you guys. We threw a little flare on it. I like to do everything tired. So what we did was we came off the truck, and you don't know if you're going to be venting or ventilating, or you don't know if you're VESing or ventilating. So your officer tells you, hey, man, we came in second due. We've got about a quarter-mile walk to the fire. Grab a saw, grab a ladder, 24-foot ladder, and grab a tool, a hand tool. So now one single firefighter's got to grab all of these things. take them to the scene. Get to the scene. Now, whoever's with you needs to tell you, hey, we're ventilating this roof, or we're VESing that window, whatever, right? Just put the ladder in the proper placement. Put the ladder in placement, mask up for time, climb the ladder completely, all the way to the top ladder, come down. Now you're tired. Now you go to one end of the bay, right? So our bays are like 70 feet, the distance. And you're at one side. Your victim, which is the human, one of us, doesn't have pants, is wearing shorts, and doesn't have shoes. He does have socks on. So shorts, no shoes, and socks. He's at the end of the bay. You've got high heat, low visibility. You're gonna go get him. So, but you have to stay low, and you're not able to stay or get high either because you've got bad conditions, and it's ruining people. Like, and it's so, like, you get there and you're like, this is gonna be easy. I'm gonna grab them. It's gonna be fucking 6 pulls. I'm gonna be out. And no, dude, it's gonna be probably 40 pulls. You know, and that really shows who the person is, number one, and their ability to quickly realize this is not going to be fast. This is going to require a lot of work, and I need to see what efficient movement I can do to move this real human on this floor across the bay. And then we start talking, and I'm like, guys, this is very simple. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, there's nothing in our way. There's no fire. There's no heat. There's not crews in here. There's not hose lines. So for everybody that's dragging by the legs, understand that that's fine when there's nothing in the way. But when you start throwing things in the way, cabinets, pillows, toys, hose lines, hand tools, like, things don't just move. This isn't the academy where they just disappear. Like, you've got to go over these things. And then not just that, do we have a change in levels of floors? Are we going up into the kitchen? Are we going down into a basement? Like, where are we going? So that all comes out to really a humbling experience of, this is a hard job, right? And I don't think anybody will ever be 100% ready, right? Our human psyche and our ability to call audibles and really dig deep is what makes us so special and what makes us operate at such a high level. Now, you can't be the best firefighter you can be without showing up physically and mentally capable. So, dude, what you guys are doing, man, you guys are crushing it. You guys are doing amazing things. And one piece of advice I give you guys is don't stop and don't listen to the negativity. If somebody's not coming at you with some criticism that's positive, that's like not an opinion, but rather, hey, you guys could do this better, or have you guys thought about doing this, or a question, just, dude, block it out, because everybody's gonna have their 2 cents. And at the end of the day, dude, we need forward motion. We don't need to be stopped by naysayers. Like, no, dude, this train is moving, right? The only thing stopping this train is nothing. Like, trains don't stop. You know what I mean? Like, trains keep moving. If a car gets on a train track, the car is destroyed. If a human gets on the train track, they are destroyed as well. And it's an amazing analogy for us progressing and making the fire service better is just keep moving, man. Keep moving. So you guys have anything to say to the guests out there? You know, you guys are crushing it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we appreciate all the support. We've had a lot of good people hit us up on the Instagram so far, and you know, we've made great connections, and they've shared their expertise with us as well. And you know, that's what it's all about, right? The networking. And so as a professional firefighter, that's something that you should be looking for constantly. You know, outsource those trainings, like, go find them, hunt them down, meet those people. And it all comes down to, right, like, we're just starting to pioneer this movement of, like, yeah, we want to help, like, put some cool things out on some media platforms for you to see. Like, we're not special people right now. Like, we're just putting this content out, you know. Like, I'm happy to be a part of the company, and, like, blessed that it's had the impact that it has. And it's a reflection of the culture that we want to foster. And, you know, like, we personally don't have to be special to influence these people's careers. You know, like, you could put your message on a cereal box, people would read it and think, like, holy shit, there's no such thing as, like, the debate between smoothbore and fog nozzle. Or maybe they read it and they're like, whatever, you know. And, like, but that's why we go to the grocery store, because now we got options, right? We find these classes, right? you hunt those people down and you learn from them and you maintain those connections. And now like we're talking to you on the podcast. Like this
This would have never
where
happened.
we build.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then we get in real life, and then we pour into each other, and that's the beautiful thing about the internet. And you guys are special, man. You're putting yourself in a space of critique, in a space of criticism, and in that space, understand you're going to grow so much more than hiding behind. Well, what if they say this, or what if we make mistakes, or what if we post something that's not the best, right? Like the only way you're going to learn is if you do it. And I'm all about action. You got to take action. You got to press forward. So, guys, don't stop. Don't stop at all. Keep challenging yourself. Take all the classes out there that you can, and understand that what you're doing matters, right? It really does. You're touching people that are. You're not the only department that runs the way you do. And from what I've seen, you guys are the one of the few that are sending the message that you guys are sending. And dude, it was received, man. So I appreciate you guys. Guys, check these guys out. Like I said, in the bio will be the handle of their Instagram, 2 Mile Rescue Company. Give them a follow. And thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, sir.